A very good afternoon to all the students of class 12. After a long gap, I am here to do this video on the third level written by Jack Finney from your literature section from Vistas. Actually, CBSE was slashing down on the syllabus, so wasn't too sure whether what's going to remain and what's going to be added, what's going to continue. So I took a break in between from the literature section, but now I think whatever is going to come is very much there in black and white. So I thought to restart with the literature section, and I'll do a few chapters that I had not taken up. So today I'm going to take up the third level written by Jack Finney. Now Jack Finney was an American author, and his life spans from October 2, 1911 to November 14, 1995. And his best known works are on science fiction and thrillers. Finney's first short story, The Widow's Walk, won a contest which was sponsored by Ellery Queen's Mystery magazine in 1946. And his first novel, Five Against the House, was published in 1954, and it was made into a movie in the following year. Now, as the title suggests, the third level. So the story is basically centered around the Grand Central Station, which has two levels, two stories. But the narrator has added a third level to it with his imagination. And what the writer wants to convey through the creation of this third level is that this highlights the stress of modern day lifestyle, the working pattern, and how life is moving at such a fast pace that it's very difficult for a man actually to cope with it. And in trying to keep pace with this fast moving lifestyle, somewhere, the stress is too much to be handled. So he goes into another, level where life seems to be running at a very smooth pace. Everything slows down. It's easier to handle things, where things are not so complicated, not so complex, and it becomes easier for the human mind to actually also go at a slow pace. So the whole idea behind this chapter is, it is trying to convey or trying to highlight the contemporary scenario today as we all are facing. And even children today, you can hear them using these words, that there's so much of tension, there's so much of stress, there's depression, and then various other things, how lifestyle is changing and people are finding different routes to escape this, this fast pace of life. And they take to various things, either they take to drugs or they take to, alcohol, or they take to various other things where they just want to escape from this. And because when they cannot handle this stress and strain. Because in the past, life was simple. And when it was simple, so everybody moved at a simple pace. There was no cutthroatism. There was not so much of, a mad rush for this materialistic world. As a result, everybody was more or less content, But with the onset of this modern lifestyle, and man has actually, with the Industrial Revolution, which brought in machinery, and it's actually landed up making man a machine, and every process has become so mechanical. We have forgotten to live, we are there, but it seems if you just take a break, if you introspect and see that, is this mad rush worth it? I mean, we are missing out on so many things. What have we done to the environment? What have we done to the atmosphere? What have we done to relationships? What have we done to ourselves? We are, so mechanical in our ways that we are like machines. We are, excuse me, we are alive, but that beauty of living life beautifully is missing somewhere. So this chapter takes us back to that, a point where the author also wants to find a way to escape from this madness, from this hustle and bustle, from this race, and he actually wants to experience, solitude, calmness, simplicity, where there is no mad rush. In the third level, the writer gives us a seemingly impossible idea of going back in time at the reality level. You cannot move back in time. We are all moving forward. And this he experiences when he is actually at the Grand Central Station, and he has a very strange, unusual kind of an experience, and he finds himself on the third level of the station. And there he sees that, everything is different, and he sees various changes in the form of ticket windows and the gates and then the currency. He finds everything different. So he goes back in time, that way. But actually in reality, this level does not exist. It's a figment of his own imagination. And the third level is non-existent in reality. And this is a means to escape from the reality of the present day scenario, where life is not at all easy and life is moving at a great pace, okay? Then his psychiatric friend also tells him that, this is a means to escape from the harsh realities of the world. And the problem arises only when he himself reports to have gone back to Galesburg, of 1894 from the third level. But in reality, this level did not exist. It is only there in his imagination, and he just wants to experience that contrast from the present day scenario. That's why he goes back to the previous century. Okay. And this is the Grand Central Station, which is at New York. Usually it has only 2 levels. Okay, now the psychiatric friend, when he goes and tells him about this, so he tells him that it is a dream, for wish fulfillment, things that he has not been able to achieve, his desires that remain unfulfilled. So for that, he's gone back in time, and he wants to escape from the harsh realities of the present day. That is why he has created the third level, and he feels that it is very much existing. And the reason that the psychiatrist friend gives, which is very, very true in today's world, that modern man is full of insecurity, he's full of fear, he's full of worries, and he just cannot cope with what all is happening, and he wants to escape from this kind of mad or hostile environment which man is responsible for creating. Man himself is responsible for creating this lifestyle, and then in order to find a means of escaping from it, or to get out from it, or to take a break from all that is happening, the third level has been created by the writer. Now in this I'm not going chronologically according to the chapter, but I'm highlighting the main points, okay? Now in this, the psychiatrist friend also talks about stamp collection, that though it's we consider it a hobby, people have hobbies, and stamp collection is another very good hobby. But the psychiatric friend tells him that this is also a kind of a temporary shelter or temporary refuge from reality. But the narrator, that is the writer, he does not believe it. Why? Because according to him, he gives a proof for that. He says that his grandfather also indulged in stamp collection. And now the grandfather lived in previous times, okay? So if the previous times were not so difficult and were not so complex as the present times. So in those days, his grandfather indulged in stamp collection when things were more peaceful, they were more stable, they were more quiet, and life was not so difficult at that point of time. So he disagrees with the psychiatric friend that, stamp collection is also a means to escape from reality. And for the grandfather, there was no insecurity at that time, because if we compare, for a debate also, sometimes you can, that our ancestors were happier than us. Now, in a way, it depends, first, what is your definition of happiness? Because happiness is basically a state of mind, okay? Today, even millionaires and billionaires are not happy. So, that means materialistic things do not have anything to do with your happiness, okay? You must have done that old poem, the enchanted shirt, where the king asks for the shirt of a poor man. He wants to wear that shirt because the poor man is always so happy. So it's basically a state of mind. And in the olden days, our ancestors may not have the luxuries and the comforts that we have today. Like you can highlight, yes, science has, given us so much comfort and things. But then the other side is that, according to this lifestyle, there are so many new diseases that are cropping up. In olden days, there was hard work, they labored a lot, they toiled a lot, there was so much of physical work that all these ailments were never heard of. But today's luxurious and comfortable lifestyle, where people hardly walk, there are cars at your doorstep, and, all means of communication, transport. Life has become easier and comfortable, but happier? I mean, that's a big question mark even today, because materialistic things may provide short-lived happiness, but in the long run, happiness is actually a blissful state where you are content from within and you are happy with your surroundings. Okay, so how does all this happen? This happened when Charlie lost his way at the station. He was working late one summer night, and he wanted to reach his home fast. And in a hurry to board a train, to reach home, he goes down to the second level. And he crossed an arched doorway heading for the subway, and he gets lost. And then he thinks the Grand Central, is growing like a tree, expanding and pushing out new corridors and, staircases like roots, so that comparison has been given, that the level is growing like a tree, expanding and pushing out its new corridors and staircases like its roots, okay? And he enters a corridor, and he keeps walking, and then another thing that he notices immediately when he's walking is he hears the empty sound of his own footsteps. I mean, there's nobody, there's no hustle and bustle or the fast movement of steps, of other people around, okay? So he can only hear his own footsteps. And he comes out on the third level at the Grand Central Station. Then he finds that the rooms are smaller, okay? Fewer ticket windows are there. Now, why do you think there are fewer ticket windows? Because at that point of time, the population was less. So fewer people means fewer ticket windows, okay? So you have to connect that, okay? Smaller rooms because less population, less crowd, fewer ticket windows, again, same thing, and train gates. And there were open flame gas lights, okay? Instead of electricity as we have it today. And he sees brass spittoons. Now, spittoons made out of brass. Now, this is, in which people, it's a kind of a pot kind of a thing made out of brass in which people actually used to spit, okay? So, spittoons on the floor. So, all these things tell us about the previous century. And everybody at the station, he feels, was dressed in the 19th century dresses. And he explains that there were beards, then these sideburns and sidelocks and fancy mustaches. And he finds all this, and that is what makes him believe that he has entered the third level and he has gone back to the previous century. Then he finds a lead story about President Cleveland in paper, the newspaper, The World. All this is being given to substantiate, where he was and what he saw, okay? And then he goes to the ticket window, he takes out some currency, and the fellow at the window gets angry with him, okay? Because he wanted to buy 2 tickets, one for himself and one for his wife, and he wanted her to take her to Galesburg in Illinois, okay? And he wanted to give her a holiday, okay? And he has actually pictured it as a beautiful town with big old frame houses, huge lawns, and you can imagine in today's world where the population explosion is so much, and you know, you have concrete jungles, very little space, and between the houses also. So forget about having parks and having about, you know, personal lawns. Very few people have the luxury of this today, okay? Then the summer evenings, long summer evenings, and people sitting out on the lawns and smoking and talking quietly. This again talks about the social setup, you know, how peaceful life was. People had time to spend with each other. They would sit out on the lawns, they would smoke, and they would sit there, and they would, talk about many things. So this talks about the pace, you know, that they had time for all this, and it was a peaceful world. Then here, when he takes out money to buy the tickets, the clerk, sounds him and tells him that he would be put into jail for what he was giving. So then what does he do? He goes back, then he exchanges his currency. He takes out $300. Now, dollars was the present currency from the bank. And he buys old style currency notes. Now, after all this has happened, you know, his psychiatric friend also gets worried about because he's substantiating it so well with all this. And he still insists, the narrator, still insists on going back to this place, going back to Galesburg, Illinois, okay? And then he does not give up. His wife gets very worried about him, and after showing him to the psychiatrist and something, then he tries to convince his wife to such an extent that she also begins to believe in all that, you know. And he keeps looking for that corridor which led to the 3rd level, but he fails, okay. And in between, he does stop searching for the 3rd level. Then he goes back to his hobby of stamp collection. Then he gets a proof that there is a 3rd level because his friend Sam Weiner had suddenly disappeared. And both husband and wife try to look for the 3rd level every weekend. And the narrator used to tell Sam about Galesburg, and the narrator went to school there. And the narrator believes that his friend Sam is in Galesburg in the year 1894. But, that cannot be true, that because he was a psychiatrist, and in 1894, when things were so peaceful, when everybody was living a happy life, peaceful life, content life, when there was no mad rush or there were no complications, there was no need for a psychiatrist at that point of time, because those times were peaceful times, okay? Then they have talked about something which, to enhance your general knowledge, they've talked about a first day cover. Now, what is a first day cover? You know, the stamp collectors, they buy new stamps. Then what do? They fix them on an envelope, and they write their address, and they post those envelopes to themselves. They mail it to themselves on the very first day of the sale. And the postmark also comes on it, and it gives proof of the date, the day when the stamp is released. Okay, so that is the first day cover. And this narrator also found a strange first day cover in his collection. Okay, someone had mailed it on his grandfather's address in Galesburg in 1894. And the 6-cent stamp had the picture of President Garfield. Okay, and the envelope had a letter for Charlie from his friend Sam. Sam writes that the 3rd level exists, you know, but Sam, the psychiatrist, his friend, could only tell him, okay, you keep looking for it, because it was very difficult to dissuade him from the fact that, you know, such a level does not exist. Okay, and as I told you that in the end, he says that Sam has disappeared. That is also in his mind, that is also a part of his imagination. because going back to Galesburg as a psychiatrist to the previous century, that is 1894, was useless and futile, because in those days there was no business for psychiatrists, because those were peaceful times, happy times, content times, when people were happy with themselves. Okay, so this is what the chapter basically talks about. Now, the theme of the lesson, the basic, as I told you in the beginning, that the writer wants to convey the life of modern man, that it is full of insecurity, tensions, worries, and he's unable to cope with the tension and worries of the modern life. Though man has created all this for himself, but then, he is responsible for his own doing, and he's bearing the brunt of it all himself. Okay. So man, at certain stage, when you're saturated, when you just cannot tug along, pull along any longer, then you want to escape and you want to run away from the harsh realities of life. You just want to be away from all this rut and din and noise and commotion, and you just want to be with yourself, and you want to just slow down. So that is what this chapter is trying to highlight, that you're trying to look for a nice, comfortable, peaceful corner, and which refers to the earlier times. Earlier times, people were more peaceful and at peace with themselves and surroundings, and they did not suffer from these kind of tensions and worries, okay, because they led a simple, peaceful life and carefree life, okay. That is why they did not entertain unrealistic ideas and fanciful ideas, okay. So today, man is developing, and he has in his imagination, and he's working for that. Sometimes we feel that maybe everything is illogical, but then sometimes illogical things in the past become logical. Like in those days when the Wright brothers must have thought that man can fly, everybody must have scoffed at the idea and laughed at the idea. But today we do have planes, isn't it? So things which seem illogical and out of place at in present times may actually become true a few years later. Okay. Then the title, the third level. Okay. The life of modern man, as I've told you, I repeated it, it's so full of worries, tensions, insecurities, okay? And when he cannot cope with the harsh realities, he wants to escape into a fanciful world, an imaginary world, because sometimes they say the world of fantasy is better than the world of harsh reality. At least in a world of imagination, when you're daydreaming or when you're imagining, you can imagine all the good things happening, the nice things happening, and it's very soothing, and reality can be very harsh and, stark, and it stares at you in the face. Okay. So the third level is also actually that area, of escapism, which the narrator is trying to look for, to find some peace, to find some happiness and tranquility. Okay, and tranquility. So he dreams of a fantastic world, an ideal world. And if you've heard the word utopia, Utopia, utopia. Utopia means where everything is perfect. Okay, where everything is perfect. Okay. The author has given the title third level to this fantastic world which is longed for, yearned for by the modern man. Okay. And the third level also, it refers to the reality that exists only in the mind of modern man. Okay. It does not exist in space and time. This third level is only in the mind. It is neither in space nor in time. Okay. It is in the mind that helps him to escape the tensions and harsh realities of life. Hence, the third level is an appropriate title. So we can use it both ways. The third level is a harsh reality, okay, which cannot be avoided, but it is there in the mind, okay. It is not there in time and space. It's only in the mind. And the other connotation could be that this is that fantastic world into which man wants to go, okay. But again, it does not exist. It is there in the mind itself. Okay. Now, if we talk about the characters Okay, Charlie, we can figure out from here, highly imaginative and sensitive. He's very good at imagining things and is an escapist. And his psychiatric friend Sam is very right when he says that Charlie is unable to cope with the present conditions and of modern life, and that is why he goes into this third level. And it could be a reason for his waking dream wish fulfillment. Waking dream, while moving, while he's awake, he wants his dream to be fulfilled, that kind of a thing. And he wants to escape to this peaceful world of Galesburg in 1894, and he wants to forget the harsh realities of the present world. Okay. Then another aspect about him is he's a loving and caring husband. From work when he's late, he just wants to reach home fast. Then he wants to take his wife out, on a holiday to Galesburg. Okay. And thirdly, we can say he's also intrigued by the mystery of the third level. He's not sure whether the third level exists or not, but in his imagination, he has visited the third level once, but he's never been able to find that corridor again. Okay. But he does want to actually find it and go there. And Charlie, I would say, is a representative, of the modern man who leads a life of insecurity and worries. So he represents that. Then we come on to the next character, that's Sam, the psychiatrist. Okay. Okay. He is very true to his profession, okay, and he's a competent psychiatrist, and he correctly diagnosed Charlie's ailment or his problem, that he's not being able to cope with the reality, and that is why he's looking for a route of escape, and that is why he's talking about the third level, because modern life has taken its toll, on him. So he further tells him that he's like any other modern man. As we said, that Charlie basically represents the modern man. And when Charlie tells him about the existence of this third level, Sam again tells him that it is actually a waking dream wish fulfillment for him. And he's very straightforward and frank. He's not trying to hide anything from him. And in a very clear, frank manner, he tells him that it actually, the problem lies with him and there is nothing to do with the third level. Then as a person, he was trying to tell him that you too have been affected by the modern lifestyle, and that is why he was trying to seek shelter or refuge in the third level. Then at the end of the story, he discovers the third level of Grand Central and goes to Galesburg of 1894. So, but of course, everything, as I told you, is in the mind. Okay. Then the wife is a loving wife, and when she comes to hears from Charlie all that he's talking about, she gets very worried that her husband is unhappy. She takes it in a very personal way. She thinks that it is because of her that her husband is not happy. So she gets a little offended also, gets a little angry also. But then she realizes, and then she's worried as a wife, and she takes him to, this psychiatrist friend, and she tries to find out a cure for this ailment. Okay. And she's a simple-minded woman, loving and caring wife. Okay. That's it, children. Okay. So that was basically what the chapter was all about. And there were one or two questions which I thought I would like to do with you. Do you see an intersection of time and space in the story? In the story, the third level, the writer has consciously interwoven. He's talking about present day, then through the character, he takes us to a previous century. Then once again, we come back to present times when we talking about Sam, the psychiatrist, and the treatment. And then once again, so it is interwoven, interwoven. So the writer has consciously interwoven elements of reality and fiction by the intersection of time and space. Okay, Charlie belongs to the present time. Okay, but he experiences the previous century, and he imagines the third level at the Grand Central Station. Then on the third level, everything looks very different. Okay, no electric lights. Then there are dim and flickering flashlights. The flame gas lights, sorry. And then people are old-fashioned, funny mustaches, old-fashioned clothes. Then the ticket clerk refuses to accept the modern currency, okay? And so the writer has tried to take us back and forth. So it's all interwoven, okay? And then when Charlie opens the envelope which somebody had mailed to his grandfather at his home in Galesburg, he's very, very surprised, okay? Because it had the first day cover with the date July 18, 1894, okay? And it was a note written by his friend Sam, who has disappeared. Okay. Now, next question. So, yes, the story is interwoven, okay, with the intersection of time and space. And then another question here is, apparent illogicality sometimes turns out to be a futuristic projection. Discuss. As I just told you, it's strange but true that what we think to be illogical today turns out to be a futuristic projection or reality. If we go back in time, our forefathers, must have rejected the idea of flying in the air. But today, at that point of time, it seemed illogical to them. But today, we know that it is a reality. Then there are so many other things which we might think of, like in all these English movies, the science fiction that they talk about aliens and human beings and robots and everybody living in peaceful harmony and enjoying equal civic rights, So maybe today it seems illogical, but in future maybe a time may come when all this, because this artificial intelligence that we are talking about today and the robots that are being created and how they are, though human beings have made them, but still, how we, in near future, what will be the scenario after in the next century, God only knows. So what proves to be illogical today might prove to be a futuristic projection or logical tomorrow. Okay. Now here, third question. The modern world is full of insecurity, fear, worry and stress. What are the ways in which we can attempt to overcome them? Okay. Now this one thing, is very clear. Over here they had actually shown us that how he tries to overcome all this is through fantasy. Okay, the fantasizing about the good old world turns out to be a good refuge from reality. Okay, and as some people, as I told you, some people build utopias, an ideal world in which they find consolation. Okay, but then there are other people who take to intoxicants, who take to various like alcohol or drugs or things like that because they cannot cope, so they want to escape. So that is a cowardly way of doing things. But the best thing is to overcome this is, number one, if we count upon our value system, okay, to be content. Because desire is the cause of all sorrow. It's desire that is making us run after this materialistic world and, having more and more and more. So the first thing is to curb our desires, to draw a line between necessities and luxuries, okay, number two. Then third is to be content, okay. And the fourth thing is to use and channelize our energy towards the creative side, okay. Do something useful in life, we must not forget what is our purpose to be here on this earth. We must escape all negative thoughts about the immediate world, and we must actually try to find creative ways of enhancing the beauty of this world, not only for ourselves but for others also. So social service is another big constructive way of channelizing your energy and your time and giving is far more important than receiving. So social work is something which can really change our lives. When we do something for others, it brings us true happiness. So that is a very, very important aspect. Okay, like then of course we have your writing poetry, all creative activities, writing poetry, stories, plays. You can find emotional refuge in all this creative an imaginary world. So there are various constructive ways of doing that. Okay, so this I thought would be a nice important question. Do you think the third level was a medium of escape for Charlie? Why? Yes, it was definitely, because I mean, it was beyond him, to actually fight out this kind of a stressful life, and his life was full of tensions and worries. So he goes back to that pleasant place, Galesburg, where he things, where he imagines that those lawns are there, people are sitting, they're sitting peacefully, and they are chatting, talking, where the society is also at peace, and unlike today's modern world, which is at war, not only with other countries but within ourselves also. I mean, there is a war that we are waging every day with ourselves, with our surroundings, with other countries. So, and the whole world seems to be on fire today, if you come to think of it and look at it, so the whole thing. So yes, the third level for Charlie was a medium of escape, and he's described it so beautifully, that the houses, lawns, palm leaves, those palm leaf fans and things like that. So it's all beautiful. And just as when why do we say that, if you want to take some respite, why do people rush from these metropolitan cities up to the hills, because the peaceful atmosphere, the tranquility, nature, breeze, scenic beauty, all that has a very, very medicinal or a therapeutic effect on mankind. That is why all this, it does, hold meaning for all of us. But we have to take a break. We have to realize, we have to stop and, take the signal that this is, we are stretching it too far. Now we must actually come back to normalcy. We have to sit down and introspect, like that poem that you have in class 12, counting 12. We all need to take a break and to introspect. This introspect is very, very, very important. What is the end result that we are going to get in hand? If that end result is zero, is this race worth it? No. In the end, if you are only going to get diseased by this lifestyle, then what is the point of leading this lifestyle? It's better, you don't have to copy. Let it not be herd mentality. You are an individual. It's your life. Why let others rule over it? You have to live your life. You should be ruling your life. So that is the end result for this. Okay. I think with this, most of it is clear. So, though the chapter seems to be difficult, but it's not so difficult. And if you have any queries in the comment section, you can please pen down your queries and I will answer your questions. Thank you very much for watching, listening. God bless you all.